back to another episode of Rapid Fire Insights with me, your host, David McCall, and my co-host, Chris Hanna.
Hello, everyone.
And today we have as our guest Jeff Denomme, a multi-entrepreneur business owner. Jeff has runs Halo Heats, which is a fantastic sauce. We're going to get into that for sure. It has the Haunted Zoo, these phenomenal characters. Hot Hive Design and Brand Studio. He's been in politics, so he's basically what we're going to do today, Jeff, is just kind of introduce you to our podcasting world, find out how your journey goes, and how you got started. So first off, thanks for coming and talking to us.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So as I was just describing, you've had a bit of a journey from politics to art to sauces. How did you get there? How did it start? What got you into it?
Oh, I mean, I think as like a young kid, I was always the kid, setting up, renting the ice or, the little shindigs that you'd have. So, I mean, I think it started there probably, but like if you want to, for real, when I was 19. So I don't know if you remember the days. I'm 40, so the days maybe, I don't know, 20 years ago or 25 years ago when we'd steal American Satellite because we're so close to the border.
Borrow. We don't use the word steal.
Legally take the American signals. So we had MTV and VH1 and all those American channels. And one day I was watching it and I saw a thing on, I think it was Quicksilver or Hurt. I think it was Quicksilver. How Quicksilver started, and Quicksilver just started out of the back of a trunk of a car. And I mean, everybody knows what Quicksilver is nowadays, Quicksilver Roxy. So I was like, wait a second, I have a trunk in my car. I could do this. So I started a clothing company called Fathom Clothing. And I didn't know what I was doing. And it was back before anybody had clothing companies, like 2000 maybe. And so I just like had like hand-drawn pencil sketches I brought to like a print shop. And I was like, oh, I need these on shirts. And they kind of did what they had to do. And I ended up selling a bunch of these shirts. And ended up going on the Vans Warped Tour and traveling with that, and sponsoring a bunch of bands and having shirts on MTV and all that.
Oh, just real quick, which bands? Like, just name a couple. Which bands were you sponsoring?
I mean, like Silverstein, more like kind of punk screamo bands like Silverstein, Taking Back Sunday, Matchbook Romance. It's been a while. I think Yellow Cards wore some shirts. Bleed the Dream. So these were all bands on the Vans Warped Tour. Now the funny part is that subculture ended up blowing up and being very mainstream. Like for example, I went and seen some of these bands at the Shelter in Detroit playing for like 500 people, and then like a few years later, these bands are playing in front of thousands and thousands of people at festivals. And like Rise Against, for example, a band called Rise Against, you guys probably know. They were a band that I didn't sponsor, but I was always around them. and they were the one that blew up, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
So did you get a lot of the backstage? Did you get to go like backstage and all the experience there? Oh yeah.
Like the one 2004, I think it was. We shared a tour bus with Silverstein and did the whole East Coast USA on the Vans Warped Tour. So it was pretty cool.
So you have this idea of running a business outside of out of your trunk, essentially was kind of like the genesis of it, and then you say your drawings, and you start it turns into the Vans tour. And like how do you harness this level of creativity, I guess, that you had? Like, was there an inspiration that like just to monetize this in some way, or like where'd this come from? Like, were you always just been entrepreneurial, I guess?
I guess like that's a weird part. My timelines are a bit off because I don't remember what happened last week, but I'm trying to go back 25 years. But yeah, I just could never. I don't remember how this lines up, but I was about, it would have been 20-ish, I guess, when you're out of school, 18, 20. I can't remember if I started this first or after. I think it was after. Must have been after. But I went to school for heating and cooling just because why not? Like great idea over art, but I wouldn't be happy. So I went to school for like 3 days, and I was like, I don't know, I can't do this because I worked in the factory.
That's not for me.
Yeah,
the 3 days you kind of pull the chute, like I'm out. I'm gonna do something different. Okay.
These are fun. I'm talking, so these things are wiggling and falling out. But yeah, anyway, so I did that for like 3 days. Realized I didn't want to work in a factory forever. Not realizing that was just 1 day of the school, and you don't actually work in a factory too much for heating and cooling. But I went home and I told my dad that I was done and I wasn't doing it. And he was like, "Well, that's not a good idea, but whatever, it's your life." He's like, "What are you gonna do?" And I did it at the time. I didn't even really do art, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna be an artist." He's like, "Okay, you don't even do art." Like I'm like, "Well, it doesn't matter. That's what I'm gonna do." And it worked. I did it. But yeah, it was just kind of funny. And I looking back now, I'm like, yeah, that was a super weird answer for for him to hear.
Just off the top of your head, hey, I'm gonna do art. Hey,
yeah.
Obviously it's something that you had in the back of your mind. I take it you were drawing when you were a kid.
Like not really, like doodling ish, like just here and there on the side of the paper.
So where'd you pick up the skill?
I don't know. Like that's the weird part. I always doodled and stuff, but I wasn't actually. Funny enough, so actually you brought a good point up. So anyway, this was like 19, 18-ish, and then 20, I started this clothing company. So that's how it kind of chronologically happened. And I worked at West 49 at the time. So I would sell it out of West 49. Like people come in to buy a DC hoodie. I'm like, nah. Come to the back here, and I'd pull all these hoodies out and whatnot and sell them at work. But getting back to kind of what you're saying, the funny part is, so when I was a kid, I skateboarded, and once again, this subculture that ended up becoming mainstream. But I had a folder, and I didn't know about this folder. I forgot about it, but I had a folder with all these companies that had like a cartoony kind of advertisements and skateboards and things like that, like Birdhouse and New Deal and things like that. And I ended up starting Haunted Zoo, like this kind of cartoony character company. And years later, like when we had that flood about 8 years ago or whatever it was, my parents were like, "Okay, dude, like you got to come and get this stuff in our basement. Like you don't live here anymore. We're throwing it out. If you want it, come get it." It's like, okay, I'll come and get some stuff. I'll look through it and throw out what I don't want. And I found a folder of all these ads and things I saved, and they were all in that similar style. And then it was like a time capsule going like, oh, this is where this kind of came from, and this is why I do this. So it was a pretty cool moment to find that stuff. And it just, yeah. And then I ended up meeting, I was in Vegas at a clothing show. And I ended up meeting this guy named Andy Howell, which I didn't know existed. I didn't know who that was. But I ended up going to his booth, and I had a little card, and I gave it to one of the workers. And they were like, "Hey, Andy wants to meet you. Like, he likes your illustrations." So I'm like, "Okay, I don't know who that is." So anyway, he comes out, we start chit-chatting. I still don't know who he is. And he starts saying the stuff that he did. I'm like, "Oh, I want to be you," except I didn't know that you existed. This guy's like the Oprah of the skateboard world, like for all like the advertising. And he had the little skateboard toys for McDonald's. It was like the second highest selling McDonald's toy and all this stuff. And I've kept in contact with him a bit, like over the past couple of years and stuff. And it's kind of funny, like meeting this guy because once again, this is a long time ago. This is before the internet, where you can like have access at a fingertip to everybody.
Well, quick question here, Jeff. How did you get from doing the cartoony art? I know I've seen some of your work on walls and stuff like that. To doing hot sauces.
Yeah, there's a transition there.
Where's the jump here?
Well, if I took my shirt off, you'd be able to tell why. No. So anyway, I lived in Vancouver, and I had a couple of roommates, and we were just plowing through hot sauce. And I'm like, I could try it. And just being a creative person, I'm like, I could do whatever. I could do anything, So I said, why are we buying all this hot sauce? And we can just make hot sauce. So I made hot sauce in the house for the first time, and learned very quickly to not make hot sauce in a house. So yeah, my roommates came home like, oh my god, it's like they got pepper spray. There was vinegar in the air, hot peppers in the air, and
Oh,
it was
geez.
terrible. It was a terrible sauce. So I just kind of modified it until it was good, and then brought it home for some friends to taste back in Windsor. As a Christmas present, saying, "Yeah, I still like you guys." Home for Christmas, and everybody wanted to buy it. I'm like, "Oh no. This is like 10
You're
years
kind of building
ago
it as a
plus.
hobby, I guess, at this point.
Yeah,
You're not
yeah.
doing it as like a way to monetize it.
No, I didn't even want to do it. I was like, no, I'm just having fun and making a hot sauce, and people wanted to buy it, and I said no a bunch of times, and then I was like, wait a second, I know how to do all this. I'm a glorified carny. I've been under a tent before. I was on work tour. I did this for years, and glorified carny is a funny word for something. I'll tell you in a second. But so yeah, then I ended up making Papa D's hot sauce, which I did for a bunch of years, and then now Halo Heats. But the glorified carny joke is because this is pre-Instagram, all the stuff. Like I would go on these tours with these bands, and people would be like, "Oh my god!" They'd be, "Oh, this is so awesome! You get to go with these bands, and you're on this tour." And I'm like, I'm just like, I just sit under a tent and sell shirts, right? So like this glorified carny at these these events.
So here's a quick question then. Halo Heats, okay, it's catching on. People are really liking it. And how did you like start promoting it? Because I know that we were just talking. It was on Let's Make a Deal. So I mean, how did it go from something in a kitchen in Vancouver to a show stage, in the States?
Branding. So I do branding and design. That's what I do. So when you make something look good off the flop, it kind of catches attention. I mean, we didn't even try to get on Let's Make a Deal. They found us on Instagram somehow, and
wow! So they reached
out. We thought it was a scam. I was like, nah, it's a scam. I was like, because my wife does the Instagram and all that, and she said, oh, somebody messaged us to be on Let's Make a Deal. I'm like, no. I'm like, they would email us if that was a real thing.
Yeah, there's no way this is legit, I guess, right?
Well, I forgot that 25-year-olds have real jobs now, so they use Instagram, right? I'm deciding.
Right.
I'm like, no one would Instagram that. Anyway, so we took the chance. We were like, whatever. If it's not real, we lose some bottles, but like for the risk factor of the chance, it's worth it. So we sent it, fingers crossed, and like 5-6 months later, we're on TV.
Oh, fantastic, man!
And they said it's because of the branding. They were like, the branding was great.
And we've talked about this before, you and I, how important, branding is. Absolutely. I mean, there's no question about it.
So I think that this journey that you've been on, like there's times where there's obviously an element of like intentionality with it. Some of it's been some luck, the right timing, just all coming together. It's like, what do you kind of, how would you describe this journey really that you have been on? Because it is multifaceted.
Chaotic. hang on, it's all right.
I mean, you just wake up in the morning and say, I'm gonna start this, and just do it.
Well, put it this way, like this kind of plays into maybe maybe I saw something as a kid, or I don't know, but I was never into like being like, okay, you have to go to this place for the whole day, and then you get a little bit of time at the end. Like I work 24/7, but I also work 0. So it's like, it's, and I lived out west in Vancouver, right? And we traveled a lot, went to these islands, and I guess it's spiritual or whatever you want to get. But like you just like, oh, wait a second, there's more to life than just working. And then when you're 65, then you're going to go on the hike that you can't go on because your knee's busted up and whatever, right? So I never really subscribed to that. And I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do, because the thing is, well, so there's a Dax Shepard. He's actually from Detroit. He's married to Kristen Bell. He has a podcast. It's a pretty sweet podcast. It's called Armchair Expert. And he said he's from the Detroit area. So he's used to that like factory, retire mentality, right? So he's like, it's not until I moved up to LA and I'm doing these podcast stuff and people go, when are you going to retire? He's asking people when they're going to retire. And they're like, retire from what? Like, I like what I do. Why would I retire? Yeah. Like Robert De Niro didn't retire. He's not retiring. Like he has his podcast. He's like, this is my retirement, I guess. Like, so I feel the same way. I'm always creating art or this business, or like none of it's like super physically demanding. It's mentally sometimes, but like I can do this forever. Like I can create cartoons. So I kind of just set that life, and it's a risk. It's still a risk today.
Oh, of
right?
course. Every business is a risk, right? Like, I think to
Absolutely.
outside observers, they might look at it as maybe chaos, but maybe you also thrive in that because it's not structured, but some people struggle with that. So I think it's a good segue into our next segment where we're going to go and throw some chaos your way. We're going to throw some questions at you rapid fire style. First thing that comes to mind, gut feel with these answers. We're going to fire 20 questions at you. You ready?
Alrighty.
I think I know the answer to this first question, but we're going to see. What's your favorite food?
Oh, well, I mean, pizza, but hot sauce.
Exactly. What's your favorite thing to do when you're not working?
I don't even know what that means. I don't know. Whatever. Drinking a beer with a friend. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Everything. Life. Being alive is great.
How would you describe your business approach to the world?
Just get it done. Figure it out.
What's one piece of advice you could give your 20-year-old self?
Stay in heating and cooling. No, I'm having fun still.
How do you handle the stress and chaos that does come with being a multi-stream entrepreneur?
I don't know the difference. This is life. I don't know. I've been doing this for too long. I don't know the opposite.
You talked about music. What's your favorite song of all time that you could just listen to on repeat if you had to?
Ooh. I mean, well, actually, okay, so Bush is coming. So let's say Glycerine by Bush.
What's a key strategy you think that's helped you in your businesses?
The branding for sure. Branding and design. Being professional on your onset.
What's a misconception around branding that you would love to correct?
All of it. That it doesn't matter.
Yeah, because so many people overlook it, right? How do you balance multiple ventures so that there is some sort of balance with if you're not getting overwhelmed?
As it comes in, do it.
Who's an entrepreneur or business leader that you would just love to meet and maybe have dinner with?
Paul Frank.
What's a resource that you know about now that you wish you knew about or had access to 5 years ago?
Oh, social media. Like, I did all the cool stuff before social media came out. Now I'm just an old loser.
There you go.
I'd have been a Kardashian if it was out 20 years ago.
You wake up tomorrow morning, you've got a superpower. What superpower is that?
More time, I guess.
There you go. That's a good one. If you could create a new holiday, what would it be called and why would we celebrate it?
Well, it would either be Haunted Zoo or Hot Sauce Day, and we'd celebrate it by buying as much of it as possible around the world to give me more time.
There you go.
There you go.
Putting it all together.
If your life was a soundtrack, what is the song that kicks off that soundtrack for you?
Spice Girls, spice up my life, or what's that
Spice
song?
up your life. There you go.
There you go. Like I said, he just keeps wrapping it all together.
It is all tied together. I can
Low
see
hanging
that
fruit.
for sure.
Low hanging fruit, but I had to take it.
Yeah. Last question. If you were the world's leading expert in something completely unexpected, what would that subject be?
Friendship.
There you go.
There you go. Dave, what kind of sub questions did you have a follow up there for Jeff? Some of the rapid fire questions we threw at him.
Well, yeah, no problem. Like you keep putting all your stuff together, right? You said that you keep putting your hot sauce and everything together. So, what kind of projects do you have coming up that you can that's going to blend with the hot sauce, or do you have anything new coming up?
That blend together, not necessarily at the moment, but there are some Haunted Zoo things coming up soon. There's a mural festival in Windsor. It's going to be huge. I have a wall there. There's something else that I can't talk about yet.
Oh, come on. You can tell us. We're not going to tell anybody.
Well, the people that might find out are the people that are making it happen. So I can't. I can't say anything.
Okay.
September 19th, I can tell you.
Okay.
So go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, no. So I mean, what's the next step for the hot sauce? Are you taking it bigger? Are you just happy with the way it is right now?
I would say, I mean, yeah, we always want to get a bit bigger, but like Halo Heats kind of took off faster than we expected. In the same year, we had a baby and put a second story on our house, and then that was happening. So it was just so much at once. But it is growing. We have a new flavor coming out for like November, December. It's a limited edition flavor, which I also can't tell you about yet, but it's coming.
What's the hot sauce industry like? Like, how competitive is it? Because I know there's a lot of people who kind of start to try and get into that. They try and make their own kind of similar story to you. Like, how competitive is it?
I mean, it's more competitive. It's kind of a double-edged sword because it's more competitive now than it was 10 years ago. Yeah. But hot sauce wasn't as cool 10 years ago. But you make more money nowadays because so many more people like hot sauce. So it's like a weird thing where like the more, almost the better, kind of.
Like almost more competition makes you push yourself more. Is that what you kind of mean? Or
no, just because more people like hot sauce.
Okay, because the market's so much bigger now.
Well, I know.
Yeah,
you were just part of the hot sauce festival downtown.
We put that on.
Yeah. So I mean, like, how many different hot sauce companies were there?
About 20.
Oh yeah.
From Ontario. Yeah.
So you wouldn't have seen that 5 years ago.
No, I don't think so. And we would have also, like, we're going this weekend coming up. We're going to Ottawa for a hot sauce festival there. But yeah, it's like, so it's kind of weird. It's like the more people that are involved. I mean, people fall off obviously like that, but like the more people that are involved, like hype up hot sauce, and then more people buy hot sauce. And the weird part about the hot sauce world is that people buy hot sauce sometimes they don't even eat it; they just collect it.
Oh, so it's like a collector's item, just to like have the different types of flavors and brands, I guess.
Yeah, you're just selling. You're selling something for someone's shelf, apparently, which I'm fine with.
Then you really want to get some cool looking bottles coming up. That's for sure. Make some really interesting collector's bottles.
Well, that's the thing as well, though. Our bottles, like that's another kind of thing. It's all about the branding. Everything's about the branding and how different it could be and how it looks next to other things. So like it takes a long time for the second time, or actually for multiple times, but the second time for general public to know. But to get the right bottle and the right cap and the right size and then the manufacturer and or you can just go get the same thing that everybody else has and be on your way. But I can't do that.
No. But you know what it is? Somebody creative like yourself. You're not going to just go pick something off the shelf and sell it. You want to put your style, your print on it for sure.
Well, it's kind of funny because, like, say design world, right? I mean, that's the same with the bottle or whatever, but design world, like, if you come out to me and say, "Oh, Jeff, this is a really cool bottle," I'm like, "Oh, cool, I know." But like, if another designer that I like respect comes up and says, "Oh man, this is really good," that means like 10 billion times more, because somebody that knows what they're talking about is like, "Whoa, man, like, good job." So you're almost doing it for other artists, right? Like think of you're on a hockey team, or like say NHL. People in the stands, you skate on the ice. People in the stands are like, "Yeah!" They didn't do anything. But you do some crazy dangle, boom, 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 up top shelf, whatever it is. Other guys from the other team are like, "Oh, great, wow!" That means more to that guy than the fan that's 18 years
the respect
deep
of your peers
on.
and those who are in the same circle or the same industry as you means so much more, probably. Like, it sounds like.
Yes.
Now, are you going to be putting this on the shelf in grocery stores, or is this going to stay just more online, or what's the plan there?
We're in like 30, 40 stores right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
which stores? Name a few, because I haven't seen it, and I'd love to pick some up.
Oh, I mean, there's like Littlefoot, Donna's Deli, Whiskey Jack. I mean, there's so many I can't remember. If you go to Halo Heats, HaloHeats.com/retail, it's all on there. But yeah, they're all the way up to Toronto, past Toronto and London. And
so. Well, you got to get it into Costco now. That's all there is to it.
I just need to know again. I works at Costco.
There you go.
What's a final piece of advice that you think, listeners need to hear, whether it's about branding that you've talked about, running a business? What's some words of wisdom that you can share here?
I mean, I could go for all businesses. I'm in the creative business, so I mean, it's a little bit different than a tried and true thought out business. But yeah, I mean, just keep going. I mean, we've all seen that little comic strip of the guy like one pickaxe away from hitting the diamond, and he gives up. But I mean, yeah, like if you think you're going to get rich overnight and that's what you want, it's the only thing you want, then it's probably not going to work out. It's not really what it's all about. I personally think it's more important to be happy, to be alive, and to wake up and to do all that than to make more and dread waking up. So it depends. People say, oh, well, success is you have 4 Bentleys and a Lamborghini and a house that has too many rooms that you can't even use. And I'm like, no, I mean, success to me is waking up and having a smile on your face and not wanting to go back to bed. Be like, oh, yeah, this is my life. This is pretty cool.
That is such, I think, like deep thought and insights there, which I think is so important for everyone hearing this and listening to this. And for those who are maybe just listening and they're not seeing it, throughout this entire episode, Jeff's had smiles on his faces as he's talking as well. So I think you live and you breathe what you've just shared with us as well. So I want to thank you so much for your time here today, sharing more about yourself, your businesses, what you're doing, your origin story. Appreciate you taking the time.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jeff. And I'm definitely going to run out and grab a bottle of Halo Heats and give it a shot.
Okay. Well, you know where I live. You can come to the source.
I'll stop by.
Come to the Hive.
All right, everyone. This is it for this week's episode of Rapid Fire Insights. Again, we're at the crossroads of curiosity and velocity. Until next time, make sure you are focused on being happy every single day.